I have to talk about the Tamir Rice settlement. And you know what? Hang on. Let me just take a pause. Let me take a pause mentally, because before I even talk about that, because something about that story just not something. I know exactly what bothers me about that story. All right, so Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old who was killed. If you don't know who he is by now, shame on you. He was killed as the police officers drove up to the scene in a park where he was playing with his sister with a toy gun, and they, within 2 seconds of pulling onto the scene, they shot him dead. Refused any type of first aid, and he died. Today, a settlement, I believe, of $6 million came down for the family of Tamir Rice, and included in that settlement was an agreement that there's no admission of wrongdoing, that the city of Cleveland is not culpable, that essentially, here's $6 million for you to let this go away. And of course, you do know the settlement is recommended by the state's whoever's representing the city, their attorney, basically saying that if you don't take the settlement and they take you to trial, then you are going to be found liable. Much like Chicago dropping $500 million on these types of settlements over the last, I believe, 30 years. Chicago has been paying off people that they killed, paying people off with tax dollars. So essentially, we are subsidizing the executions of young Black men and women, some white, just citizens. We're subsidizing the executions of citizens. Now, this is not to knock the family whatsoever, because let me tell you something. No, there's no dollar amount to be put on the life of your child, your sibling. But if somebody's sitting around expecting the Rice family to not seek some type of compensation or vindication and by some type of means, if you expected them to turn this down and take nothing, you are a damn fool. Sorry, you are. Does this money replace Tamir Rice? Obviously not. Does this make up for the fact that the city is responsible for the death of this young man? No, it does not. But I've seen a lot of tweets today basically soft attacking the family, some directly, but I've seen more people soft attacking the family, saying this is a shame because this doesn't bring back your son, and et cetera, et cetera. What do you expect them to do? Do you expect them to be heartbroken, no Tamir, and nothing from the city? Nothing. Because you do realize, out of all the killings last year, not a single police officer has been convicted. You do realize convicting police officers in America is almost like convicting someone from Wall Street. So I just want to say that to the people who are criticizing the family. Should they have taken the money, or should they shouldn't have taken the money, and all these types of things? Please go away. Just go away and be quiet for a little while. That's number one. Number two, does this absolve the city? By no means. The city, to me and to anyone else, realizes that there's a problem. There's a problem with policing across America. And it's best embodied, best personified by the letter that came from the police union in Ohio, where they essentially said they hope that the attorneys and the family of Tamir Rice will use this money to educate young people essentially on how not to get shot. So on a day like today, where the family is still hurting, still heartbroken, and they receive some compensation, a wrongful death suit but without a suit, right? A wrongful death settlement from the city, the police unions, I'm telling you, listen, we have one of the most disgusting police union presidents here in Boston, in Massachusetts. It's something about police unions, the people they put in charge of police unions, man, they are some of the most despicable, disgusting, scum of the earth bastards you would ever meet. Go look at the timeline. Don't take my word for it. Go find some of these jokers on Twitter and just read their timeline. Just read the type of stuff they say and they promote, not just the racism, not just the glaring misogyny, not just the violence that they promote. You know, there's some sick, twisted people in charge of these police unions across the United States. And this letter that came from the police union of Cleveland is par for the course. This letter is essentially saying that, yeah, y'all got some money. Now use that money to educate people in the community how not to get shot by our police officers. And at first I thought it was satire. I straight out thought this letter was satire, but it wasn't. It's a legit letter from the police union. And it just speaks volumes to the twisted, perverted, mentally deranged state of people who have been deputized to protect and serve us. (857-600-0518). I don't want to say anything else about that. Except to call the guy's name out, Steve Loomis of the president of the Cleveland Police Patrolman Association. Yeah. This is what happens when, never mind. I'm sorry. Cause man, y'all better learn how to stop yourself in the middle of a sentence when you're about to say something that is completely below the belt. But this is what happens when you let small, I'll put it like this. This is what happens when you let small people who are insignificant in their insignificant lives, right? They have an insignificant life, but they don't even stand out in their insignificant life. You give little people like that, you give them a badge and a gun, and you get violence, you get them killing people indiscriminately, and then you put them in charge of police associations, or rather you put them in charge of police associations, and they put out drivel like this, thinking that they're speaking out, benefiting the police associations, but they're really showing the true colors of how deeply seated their hatred towards humanity in particular, anyone who's not a police officer in general, but black people in specific. You get people like this and you give them a gun, you give them a badge, and you give them power. And because they are so small in their own little insignificant lives, now they have a place to express all of that built up frustration about because of their insignificance.